Brianna Tex OEI, that's 302. We will adjourn to closed session at 6:32. Item 4A, flag salute. Tonight, our flag salute will be led by our student board representative, Emily. Thank you, Emily. And our civility statement, Ken?
When conducting district business, we will strive to communicate clearly and concisely with respect for the time of others, to listen objectively, carefully considering the opinions of others, understand the counterproductive effects of disruptive, demeaning, and intimidating behaviors, understand and respect district policies and procedures, and maintain a respect for the rich history of the district and the efforts of others who have served us in the past.
Thank you. 5A, report of action taken in closed session. The board will report any action taken in closed session as required by law. The board did take action. The board took action and accepted staff recommendation to settle with AATA versus AADUSD regarding a grievance. 6A, public comments, recognitions, and reports. Please submit a request to speak to the Board of Trustees card located at the exhibit table for any agendized or non-agendized items to the superintendent prior to the meeting. Not more than 3 minutes are allotted to any one speaker, and no more than 20 minutes on the same subject. This portion of the agenda is for comments, recognitions, and reports to the board and is not intended to be a question and answer period. If you have questions for the board, please provide the board president with a written copy, and an administrator will provide answers at a later date. Do we have any public comments?
No public comments, Ms. Saxon.
No public comments. 6 of the Golden Spotlight, Dr. Sahakian.
Thank you. All right, one of the highlights of the night, board meeting nights. Tonight we're celebrating our High Desert VFW Veterans of Foreign Wars Youth Essay Contest winners. Each year, more students in grades 6 through 8 enter the VFW's Youth Essay Contest. The essay contest encourages young minds to examine America's history, along with their own experiences in modern American society, by drafting a 300 to 400 word essay expressing their views based on patriotic theme chosen by the VFW Commander-in-Chief. And this year's theme, My Pledge to Our Veterans. We're so proud of all of our students for their hard work and extra efforts to write such compelling essays. The winners, they're all winners who submitted, of course. The winners are as follows. First place, Francis Cabrera, also second in the district. Is Francis here? They're traveling. Okay, we're sending positive thoughts to Francis. Congratulations. Second place, Connor Koopman. Stand up, Connor. Round of applause. If you mean standing. Third, Esther Rivas. Congratulations. And of course, our honorable mentions, Leonardo Rivas. Honorable mention, Riley Scantlin. And of course, last but not least, honorable mention, Lena Rose Rodriguez. Not here with us tonight, but we're congratulating her and her family. Ms. Van Orno, do you have a few words? Thank you.
As is tradition at High Desert, the students actually have a few words that they would like to share, so you get a little piece of what they wrote in their essays, if that's okay.
pledge to our veterans. I'll be reading the second paragraph. I pledge to make veterans feel noticed and acknowledged by offering a handshake and expressing gratitude for their service when I meet them. The reason I have chosen to pledge a handshake to my gratitude is because I believe all people, not just veterans, want to be seen and respected or appreciated for their achievements or sacrifices. I know whenever I get a good grade or have done a new trick on my skateboard, the first thing I want to do is tell my family because I'm proud of the hard work and their excitement makes me feel good. I think it is difficult for people, especially children, to know what it is like to serve our country. In America, we don't have war or threats to our freedom that make every day scary. Our veterans have faced threats to themselves, their friends, and the people they protect, which makes their sacrifice to our country something extraordinary.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming, and thank you board members for your guys' time. Have us share something. Thank you Ms. Arnold for everything that you do for our school. So I'm reading just a little something I put together. So I said, I wrote this essay because it's true how many people never stop and think about how important a pledge is and why it is made. Everyone who joins the service makes a pledge to serve and defend their country and the people in it. That pledge is so meaningful to our veterans, but many don't value it, and we all need to understand how precious a pledge can be. Thank you all for your time.
Hello, my name is Leonardo Rivas, and I'm reading a piece from my essay. After the war, people tend to forget about veterans who fought to protect our freedom. Many people forget they have families too, and they leave them to serve our country. That's why my pledge to our veterans is to never forget the sacrifices they made for us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is hi, my name is Ravi Scantman, and thank you guys for everyone being here. And I'm going to read the third paragraph of my essay. The United States has been in many wars throughout our history, even ones to come to our allies' help. But we thank our veterans for their bravery and strength to fight for my freedom and my future. For my pledge, I would like to say to the men and women that you all deserve better, and I shall never be quiet about the treatment of our veterans until I know that you are getting the care, comfort, shelter, and all the necessary needs to live a strong and healthy life. For the last time, I pledge my freedom and love for this country to all of you serving and who have served for this great United States of America. Thank you.
So there's not much more I can add to what they said. They kind of summed it all up, and they really do a fantastic job. So I just want to end with sharing with the students that I am so proud of all of you guys. This is done outside of your regular schoolwork, in addition to everything else that you do. These are also, all of these students are athletes on our campus. They are involved in all kinds of other activities. They're active participants in everything that we do. So their pledges to our veterans really are meaningful on so many levels. I'm just exceedingly proud of all of the hard work and great things that they do. And thank you, School Board, for recognizing them today. The VFW actually has a ceremony for them, and so they all received certificates at a VFW ceremony at the post. We're part of the Quartz Hill Post. So we drove out to the Quartz Hill Post actually on a board meeting night a bit ago, and they received certificates and recognition there. And so we're just very grateful to be a part of the program. This is our 5th year participating in it, and our students have come home with many, many awards and just a lot of recognition. When we go, the veterans know our High Desert name, we're making a name for ourselves out there as well with our students and the representation. So thank you very much for your support of this program and our students. Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and do board comments.
Yeah, just a reminder, the United States military is the largest volunteer force in the world, 100% all volunteer. As a veteran, it's always been 100% my pleasure to serve. Thank you all for your recognition.
Honor, are you related to Pamela Koopman? Is that your grandmother? She's been a champion in my daughter's life. I will expect you will tell her that for me, will you? Reva's family, you're in here all the time now. I like that. I like that a lot. It means a lot to me. The rest of you, I want to see you again. I want to tell you a story. When I was in high school, I was the worst punk there was. Incredible. Yeah, I was the one that put the kiss tape in the air ducts. So, at the end of the day, there's two things I did that I was particularly good at in high school. One of them was pole vaulting, which is like you're shot out of a paper clip and a rubber band. It was crazy. But for some reason, I decided to join the debate team. And being able to speak will take you to a place that's going to be really important. It gives you the ability to speak for people who can't speak for themselves. Back to your grandmother, my daughter has never said a word in her life, and your grandmother has supported my daughter in ways that are angelic. Tell her that for me. I'm so proud of the rest of you. Find a way to get into speech and stay in speech, and then I'll be looking to hire you when I need an attorney, because that's where y'all would go. Try to stay honest if you do that. Thanks. I'm proud of y'all.
I did recognize all of you from seeing you out on the field. Football, soccer, drill team, baseball. You guys are student athletes, students first. Obviously, amazing students, great athletes when I see you out there. I just want to commend you on going above and beyond and doing something that wasn't mandatory, that wasn't an assignment that you had to do for a grade. You went above and beyond and did something extra to show that you care about veterans, to show off your skills, and to represent High Desert and our small town of Acton on a bigger level. So thank you so much for going above and beyond, and thank you to your parents as well for encouraging that. So I commend you and congratulate you on winning. So thank you very much, and thank you so much, all of you, for being here and taking your time to come to our board meeting at night. Thank you.
I'm old, I forget things. Ms. Van Ornum, how do I say this politically correctly? I won't. Look, we sit up here for free, and I always tell the people that work for me, when you dump your problems in my lap, you have given up your right to solve the problem your way, and now you'll solve the problem my way, and that's usually quick and decisive, not always popular. Ms. Van Ornum, the only thing I hear about your school now is this: excellence. And the way you handle your site and manage your site and make it your business and make the students of your school and their futures your number one priority without drama. Congratulations to you. Can everybody give her a hand, please? How's your hair?
Okie dokie, moving on, 7A, Ada representative. 7B, CSEA representative. 7C, student representative. They're all the way down there. Hello, down there.
Good evening. Hello? Okay. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to say congratulations to all our High Desert BFW essay winners. You guys were all very spoken, very well spoken. I'm impressed. Keep up the good work. Secondly, on the topic of athletics, at High Desert, our soccer team is nearing the end of their season. Both teams have done great, and their tournaments will be next Thursday at Vasquez. On the 15th, there will be an art exploration day where students get to experience art hands-on by professionals from my community. So thank you, Ms. Carrie Owens, for making that possible. While we're on the topic of art, there will be a mural project at High Desert on the week of March 20th, and it's planned to be done around the 28th, so that's going to be exciting to see. The students will be painting the murals themselves on campus. And our dance force has their ballroom competition this Saturday and Sunday at Eastside High. Moving on to Vasquez, our sports likewise have been doing great. Baseball had a game yesterday that they won, and our other spring sports have been doing well. Softball, volleyball have all been going to practice and representing our school well. Next week, ASB planned a St. Patrick's Day Spirit Week at school, and they even have a leprechaun trap building contest. So that will be interesting to see. And as we're approaching the month of May, students and teachers are anxiously beginning to prep for AP tests. And that concludes my updates for today. Thank you.
Thank you. 7D, Superintendent Gold Standard Report.
Thank you, Ms. Texler. Tonight I'll be covering two initiatives from our existing strategic plan, effective leadership and community engagement. First off, effective leadership. We are excited to introduce Mr. Kevin Vensko, coming to us from Newhall School District as our new Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, pending board approval, of course. Kevin has served Newhall School District in the area of business services for an impressive 10 years. Kevin's background in business services supporting K-12 is quite extensive. Currently serves as the Director of Business and Fiscal Services for Newhall. And
very excited to join the district. I've been, it's been a long month from start of accepting the job and moving on. So I'm really excited to get started and join the wonderful Aadusd family. So thank you for having me, and well, definitely be seen on board. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. And do you guys want to do board member comments?
Let's talk about Kevin.
Okay, Lester, you're up.
Welcome, Kevin. We're happy to have you, and I'm looking forward to seeing master services agreements for our vendors and standard forms of contract for all the sort of things that we put out there in the world, except contract for no more contracts on the vendor's paper. We should have our own.
That was very slick. I'll tell you, slick. When I got on this board, my campaign promise was reduce dependence on out-of-boundary charters, restore focus on local students, and restore the good name of this district in the greater educational marketplace. When I was hitting this board, Newhall School District was suing us. Now I'm stealing Mark Winger's employees. Welcome aboard. You have made my last campaign promise real, sir. Hey, do you rent those kids for parties? So they just sit there, they're perfect. Don't listen to anything she says. All right, I'm done. Thank you. Welcome.
I won't keep it long. Just a welcome. You have a beautiful family, and I'm looking forward to district. So just welcome to Acton.
All right. You gave me the cue. Sorry, it's a big quote. I'm just looking at you like, move along. Community engagement. Our continued efforts for branding and marketing our unique and wonderful district. All three sites now are playing the following video on a loop at the front office, and I have to confess, some have muted the background music, which is perfectly okay because that could get some tiresome. However, we're highlighting our efforts, which makes us unique and effective school district. So, without further ado, Alex, if you could play the video for us. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. One more time. Clearly, there's great pride in all that we do, and when I say all, I mean our teachers, our staff, our certificated staff, our classified, our parents, our students on a daily basis. Thank you all for all that you do. In addition, we're looking to heighten communication with all of our educational partners, which include our parents, our students, our staff, and community members. With that said, we are launching a new platform called Communication Station that you see on your screen, and a fancy QR code. This feature will be pushed out to all school sites as well as posted on our website with a QR code for easy accessibility. The platform will allow our stakeholders to provide comments, suggestions, things going well, kudos to the staff member. They can remain anonymous, but you know what? Kudos are always accepted and generous. But this is a easy accessibility for communication that will come back to the superintendent's office and then vet it out to where it needs to go, whether it's one of our sites or it's an employee. So this will be launched very, very soon, in the next week and a half. So look out for this. And I do believe that Alex will be showing us right now to navigate on our website where this could be found and what the questionnaire and the suggestion questionnaire will look like. So there you go with the graphic. Click on that and you have the short survey. And once you click submit, just asking about some comments, some suggestions that you have, things that you like to see in the district, and some suggestions that you might provide in terms of getting certain things done. And that would come to my office, and again, like I said earlier, that would be vetted out to the school sites so that we could hear all of our educational partners, because we're all in this together. So thank you for that, Alex. All right, moving forward, a quick update to our strategic plan efforts. With all the feedback that we received from our educational partners, from the listening sessions to the survey that was put out, be it from our parents, students, and staff, we're moving forward with our development team sessions. Those dates are scheduled for March 20th, 21st, and April 6th. We have already identified 35 educational partners that will be serving to go ahead and take all of the information that we receive from all of you and to funnel that down to develop the updated plan that will come forward to our trustees in the very near future for approval. So we're looking forward to sharing more as we move forward. Finally, like Emily shared earlier in her wonderful report as always, we have 2 community events that are coming up this month. We have been cordially invited to the Dance Force Youth Ballroom competition that will be held at Eastside High School on March 11th for middle and high school students. You see the flyer up there. And March 12th for our 4th and 5th grade students. So High Desert will be competing against other schools from around the Antelope Valley. Again, for more information, feel free to contact Ms. Van Ornum directly. Now, the High Desert School's main office. Also on Saturday, March 25th, the Harmonic Bronze will hold their spring concert at 7 p.m. at High Desert. This is always a special community event, and we're looking forward to the performance by all, as well as special guest performances. And I don't see on that flyer a special guest performance by board president, but I'll just throw that out there anyway. Anyway, no pressure. That concludes my report for this.
7E, COVID-19 report.
All right. COVID report. As of March 7th, LA County is in the low category for CDC COVID-19 community levels, which is fantastic news. In the low category, masking is strongly recommended in indoor public places if you are at risk for severe illness. Masking is still required in healthcare settings. Go to the doctor's office, they still require that. And for 10 days after the last day of exposure, if you're in close contact with someone who tested positive for COVID. In the Acton and Agua Dulce surrounding areas, there have been 10 new cases of COVID since our last report of February 9th. In our school district community, there have been 5 positive cases reported officially since February 9th, and exposure notifications as required were sent out to those affected. We want to remind parents to test their students if they have any symptoms to keep them home, such as fever, vomiting, unusual cough. Home test kits are available at all school sites, so I want to put that out there again. Again, those kits expire 9 months, so just look for the expiration date on those if you already have one in your possession. Again, when you're sick, the sooner you contact your physician, as well as notifying your school site if your child is sick, we would greatly appreciate that to lessen exposure. And this concludes the COVID-19 report. Thank you.
Thank you. 7F, submissions.
No submissions this evening.
Okay, moving on to 8, board comments. Lester?
I have a pretty good habit of staying in my lane and sticking to the things that I know well, so I will save my comments for later items.
Wow, at least one of us can do that. That's good. Okay, a couple things. I brought this up the last time. Kelly Jensen, former board member, on the front page of the Antelope Valley Press for the Excellence in Curriculum Award. She won, recognized by the Los Angeles County Office of Education. There's a hole in our board now. I've said that before. I would like to see this in our local paper. That would be really killer. Veterans, I want to say something about veterans. A lot of the veterans that were around when I was a kid, they were drafted. They were yanked up out of their life. And there were wars going on, and war was different. You didn't play a video game and blow a bunch of people up from the safety of your couch back then. There were people storming beaches where there were thousands and thousands of people being shot down, lives interrupted. The fact that Ms. Van Orn's students can recognize, I waited for them to leave, this is sensitive, can recognize that there are people out there whose lives have been changed, missing limbs, died, came home, never talked about the horrors that they live every night. The fact that the kids stood up there and actually related something meaningful. Lester, thank you for your service in the United States Marine Corps. Business-wise, I attended the Los Angeles County School Trustees Association meeting on February 27th. The topic was using science to improve reading proficiency, which was kind of a take and a realization that dyslexia is increasing, and learning rote words and rote memory and stuff doesn't help those people. So there's a broader look at some of the things that can be implemented into reading proficiency programs that make it less humiliating for people that have an inherent problem that they can't help. I was coerced into attending the California State Board of Education meeting this morning. I have a couple of things I want to talk about. One of them was the state dashboard. What's really, really big, the chairperson there made a comment about attendance and how drastically attendance, chronic absenteeism, which affect, you're the new Mr. Money, by the way, Mr. Money. We can get grants. We're still short on our ADA to be self-sufficient. They told you that, right? You knew that, right? You don't watch my videos on TV, right? Okay. So, but in all seriousness, if you can't get your kids to school, there's no money coming in. And then the way it's painted, the way I saw it, is the state does the dashboard. So every administrator in the world except this one runs out and goes, well, we're not as bad as those people over there, or you know, you massage the numbers to make it look like you're better than the next loser, right? And what I try to tell people is, look, we have kids in this district that want to come to school, so we have some success, and that success may be lower or higher than other people, but use the success you have, and this sounds really altruistic and naive, but use the success you have to get the other kids to come to school. So I actually made a comment, I'll read it into the record. I said this to the State Board of Education. I am Ken Falls, board member, Acton Aadusd Unified School District, which is a small rural district in North Los Angeles County. Our district remains under the competent direction of Dr. Eric Sahaki, and you owe me $50. I want to speak out this morning to let you know about how hearing the news of challenges at the state level can be seen by some as a means to compare LEA or even county-wide trends and characterize that performance as, well, we're not as bad as anyone else. Unfortunately, percentage achievement bar comparisons exclude success at the individual student level. The captain obvious takeaway from the presentation we heard from the staff there is that all LEAs and counties have some level of success, which is an indicator that should be celebrated and seen as a relevant model for successful working to make the data grow on the desired side of the graph, which that's what makes it relevant to the individual student. Tonight at the board meeting, that's here right now, I will share my altruistic take on this part of the CDE meeting today and ask staff to compare our LEA numbers against the state trend and to celebrate the successes that make our district unique in the statewide data, to take those successes to work on other parts of the pie chart. I will take the opportunity to thank our local staff, that's you all, for presenting data in an accurate manner to the state, which, and then they said, which is the most politically correct way I can put that. So to translate that into Ken language, there are big districts out there that are presenting fictitious data to gain larger cuts of financing. That's called fraud, taxpayer fund misappropriation. So I just said I thanked everybody for not doing that here. And I thank the board and their staff at the state level for their work on behalf of the futures of students that attend our district here in Acton Aadusd Unified School District. The next thing was they had an item, consideration of request for determination of funding as required for non-classroom based charter schools. I'll be talking about that one again when it comes to the second interim budget approval tonight. But the California Teachers Association stood up and reminded everyone that this is a danger zone when it comes to charters like A3 and Valiant. I think we're all very familiar with those people. So at the end of the day, I'll be talking about that a little bit. Finally, thank you for everyone. I have made some comments. I've become a celebrity in my discussions on YouTube about the 1-inch blizzard of 23 that we had here that shut down the whole world. I had 3 or 4. I grew up in Wisconsin. It was kind of a farce. But here's what I would hope would happen. There are people in this district that work for this district that are ready to go to work every morning, and sometimes things happen. And when we apply for waivers for things like snowstorms and fires and things like that, it it would be my hope that the staff that's ready and able to go to work, that they're all made whole in our attempt to get a waiver and the funding that comes with that. We should not be punishing anyone that works for the district because someone else made a staff. So that matches my veiled request. Last thing. In the first thing I talked about, the California Board of Education, the chair of the commission, Chair Darling Hamilton is her name. She had an idea that sometimes these disasters and pandemics and fires and floods and snowstorms are getting so bad and so frequent that that's actually the cause of why our kids aren't being educated and missing school and attending poorly. So at the state level, you have people who are all still wearing masks in the room, thinking that maybe we should be ready to fire up virtual learning at any moment. And I personally am not a supporter of that. I don't mind kids riding sleds once in their life, but we do need to get them to school and address the issue of encouraging kids through our social media. President Taxoni had a couple of initiatives this year that make our district, if you just look at it, it's a great place to be. But I'm not an advocate of flipping kids back and forth between seeing their friends every morning and turning the computer on and putting our staff, or especially our teaching staff, through that. So give the good word, encourage your neighbors, get your kids to school. He needs your money. Brianna?
I do agree with everything you said about attendance. It's hugely important. I used to do attendance at High Desert, and that's my current job, is taking care of attendance and running all of those reports. And to watch attendance go up and down, especially since COVID, and there was really no way to communicate without standing at the podium and sending an email. This opens up lines of communication with students and staff and parents to be able to communicate directly with the district office and not have to go through hoops and not have to feel like, oh, should I email? Should I go to the board? Should I? They can just scan the QR code and get directly in touch with district office and then can push whatever information out, good, bad, fantastic, ugly, whatever. So thank you very much for putting that together. That was one of my goals that I thought would be one of the easier ones to accomplish. So thank you for getting that accomplished so quickly. And that's all I have. So thank you. So moving on to item 9A, approval of consent calendar items. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second. I have a comment. Public, we missed the last board meeting because of the 1-inch blizzard of 23. And a lot of the stuff you're going to see us go through tonight, staff actually had many of these reports posted from the meeting before, and since there was no minute, we're going to blow through this very quickly because we would have had our discussion already. Thank you. I'll second.
Okay, so discussion for consent calendar items, that would be 9B, 9C, 9D, and E.
I think I spent most of my day reviewing like a 180-page contract this morning for my job. So contracts in particular are always something I pay attention to. And I really hope we're almost getting to a point where we're going to be done seeing our vendors' paper coming to us, and that the contracts that they give us live inside of our own standard form of agreement.
Good.
Call for question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Paul's got by.
Brianna Taxoni, aye, with 2 absent. Passes with a vote 3-0-2. 10A, personnel action report. Can I get a motion? A motion.
We had it down. Second.
Discussion.
That for me.
Call for question. All those in favor?
Mascot aye.
Paul's got by.
Brianna Taxoni, aye. Personnel action report with a vote of 3-0-2. 11A Metal Arts School Safety Plan.
A motion.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Nothing.
Comment with, this is the second read of all of these safety plans.
All those in favor?
Mask on.
Balls grab aye.
Brianna Texani, aye with 2 absent. 11B High Desert School Safety Plan.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Mask on.
Balls grab aye.
Brianna Texani, aye with 2 absent. 11C Vasquez High School Safety Plan.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
None from me.
All those in favor?
Lester, yes.
Balls grab aye. I'm forgetting my own name.
Brianna Texani, aye with 2 absent. 11D Comprehensive Safety Plan.
Motion.
Second with comment, this is the district-wide safety plan that supersedes at the administrative level all safety plans. So if you try to work some angle that I would have worked when I was trying to get out of doing what I did in school, we always go to the big district plan to discipline you.
All those in favor?
Mask on.
Balls grab aye.
Brianna Texani, aye with 2 absent. 12A CSBA Delegate Assembly Region 22 candidates for 2022-23. Can you get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Mask on. Aye.
Balls grab aye.
Brianna Texani, aye with 2 absent. 12B Estimate Dependable Cooling and Heating High Desert School.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, again, I just want to reiterate on this one. You know, there were no warranty requirements or no warranty standards, no written scope of work. We asked for that back and forth, and they ended up providing that. But I think if we're going to do $33,000 in work, then we need to understand what the warranty period is, when the standards in our contracting, especially the contractors. And most of that can sit within like a master services agreement with the vendor itself, so that we can issue something as bland as this to them, and then knowing that there's an overall contract that rules our relationship with them and what our requirements are.
This is for dependable cooling and heating.
Correct.
Did we get an estimate from undependable cooling and heating?
That's in the pipeline.
I have no comments. All those in favor?
Mask on. Aye.
Balls grab aye.
Brianna Texani, aye with 2 absent. 12C Second Interim Report for AAD-USD. This is an action, so I need a motion, please.
Motion.
Second. I'll do the comedy here. Thank you.
Dr. Salvatierra?
Thank you, Ms. Texani. Mr. Bensko, you're here, but I'll take it from here for the second interim. But we know about the master's agreement, so thank you, Mr. Bensko. That's well noted. All right, Mr. Alex, if you could put up the slides. 2022-2023 second interim report. So per the education code, I'll pause for a second so that we can all follow along. Sorry, Alex.
Before you start, point of order, this is kind of like the second reading of this. So if he seems to be blowing through it fairly quickly, we ran the former CFO through this before. That might be why he's not here now, but welcome, sir.
All right, thank you, Alex. So the agenda slides that we'll be covering this evening: reporting requirements, our reserves, enrollment, and ADA, and I'll differentiate between the two. Revenues and expenditures, ending fund balance, and then the multi-year projection, MYP for short. So per the Education Code 42130, all LEA's districts are required to submit 2 financial interim reports. You'll see the dates there in bold, July 1st through October 31st. That was presented earlier with our trustees in our community. And tonight we are reporting on transactions between July 1st, that's when the fiscal year begins, the new fiscal year, through end of January 31st. The interim report is designed to identify changes in the budget, if any, and since the adoption back in June by our trustees, this report provides overall changes in revenues, expenditures, and ending fund balance and reserves. Next slide, please. The fiscal status of our first interim report was a positive certification. We submit all reports to LACO, and then they provide LEAs a certification, and we don't want a negative certification. So kudos to the fiscal department, a former Assistant Superintendent Mr. Mirza for positive certification for interim report number 1. District requirement for the current year and at least the next 2 fiscal years out in terms of the minimum reserve that we are required to maintain is at 4%. So if you take a look at the total available reserves, it's broken down between a 3-year span. Last fiscal year of 22-23, the current, this year, sorry, jumping ahead. This year, 22-23, and then we have 23-24. As you see, the reserves inch up a little bit, and then 24-25 inches up a little bit more to 11,881,000. Next slide. All right, so CBEDS and ADA trends. So you see 7-year comparative data there with our enrollment numbers starting in 2018, 2019. And you see a decline to 21, 22. Then for the current year, there's an uptick of enrollment numbers, which is always a positive. And then projection again for next year, 23-24, a slight decline by 10 students in terms of enrollment, and then 24-25, 993. So enrollment are the number of students that are registered and here in the district. ADA stands for average daily attendance. That really happens to be kind of going back to what Ms. Taxoni mentioned earlier in terms of students in the seat. And that's how districts' LEAs are reimbursed. So what you can see is a decrease in ADA year to year. So again, when we're talking about attendance, making sure that our students are in class plays not only a factor within ADA trends, but most importantly to student achievement, their own achievement, first and foremost. Next slide. So all general fund revenue. So what you see here, and the bulk of our revenue is from LCFF, local control funding formula. Sorry, Emily, I know it's kind of dry, but have a good evening. Thank you for being here with us. So 22-23 first budget, first interim, you see the LCFF funding, and it's broken down between the federal revenue, state revenue, and then local, for the amount of $19,683,000. Second interim, again, I'm not going to go by line item. There's a slight uptick in terms of second interim revenue to $20,472,000. So federal revenue was increased approximately by $1 million due to the recently awarded Department of Justice STOP grant. That's categorical within a specific scope of work. State revenue includes music and arts block grant at approximately $556,000. And then local revenue increased due to the interest revenue slightly. Next slide, sir. So we're looking at 22-23 budget expenditures. As we know, generally speaking, it's not something isolated to our district, but most districts, 80% of overall budget expenditures are on payroll, as well as health and welfare benefits, certificated and classified. So you can see the expenses there for both certificated salaries and classified, and the percentage change, as well as the benefits change as well. Next slide. It just provides you just a visual pie chart in terms of the previous slide of where the expenditures are going. Again, the majority has to do with health and welfare benefits as well as payroll. Next slide, sir. So CalSTRS, CalPERS, the retirement benefits, CPI, which stands for Consumer Price Index, and then, like I mentioned earlier, LCFF factors. So I just want to point out some factors that play into decreased revenue. For example, CalPERS and CalSTRS. Employer contribution typically year to year goes up, which then dips into the revenue of the school district. And again, this is not specific to us, but most districts, and we see this trend move forward in the next 3 years out. Next slide. All right, expenditure variances. So salaries are decreased based on payroll actuals until January and projections for the remaining months. So for instance, certificated salary projections were updated based on the 6-month actual data. Classified salaries were updated within the 6 months because of negotiations and the ratification of a 7.5% increase. Staffing is maintained currently with minor changes. We just added an arts teacher, so that dips into revenue and expenditures. Textbook adoption budget decreased by $100,000, and then services such as sped services, where we contract out to meet staffing shortages, to meet compliance, reflects an increase in expenditures. So just wanted to give our community, our trustees, a view of some variances in expenditure within the second year. Next slide, sir. And again, here it's just another reflection of beginning fund balance for the second interim and then ending fund balance. And again, I want to say that just like the first interim report, we are not deficit spending. Moving forward, multi-year projection, MYP for short, span 2023, 2025. As you can see, for example, projected expenses, multi-year projection, I want to say that's the 4th line item. You can see that the projected expenses decrease over the 3-year span to 2024 to 2025. And with that, there's a correlation to the reserve level increasing from current year of 61% to 23, 24 to 71%. And 24, 25, 72.52% in terms of reserve level. And I do want to just share again that the district is required to maintain a 4% reserve. Next slide. So other revenues and expenses. So Fund 13 is our child nutrition, kind of a self-sufficient food services department. They maintain themselves. You see the beginning balance, you see the revenue and the expenditures, and the ending fund balance of $202,000. I'm not going to go line item by line item. Fund 14 and Fund 17 has to do with deferred maintenance of our sites as well as our district office facilities. Fund 25, Fund 35, and Fund 40 has to do with building and facilities maintenance. And last but not least, Fund 49 has to do with a possible housing development that's been proposed. What you see there in terms of an ending fund balance of $27,000 and change has to do with our capacity to interface with attorneys regarding the new housing development. And the last slide, final notes. Again, districts in the current financial position is quite positive, and we're quite confident for a positive certification. We must continue, again, just generally speaking, to continue with prudent fiscal practices to ensure fiscal solvency. Staffing needs to be monitored as positions become vacant due to attrition. And last but not least, based on the second interim report as presented, we recommend that the Board of Trustees approve this 2022-23 second interim report. Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. Discussion?
Yes, I definitely appreciate the details and all the effort that we keep putting into constantly increasing our reserves. So I mean, it's amazing that we keep managing to do that, even as costs trying to improve as a business, you kind of have two relief valves. It's either you increase revenue by improving sales, or you reduce costs. Considering that costs are rising faster than our funding, our biggest relief valve is obviously going to be to improve ADA and improve our revenues. And if you look to that, Ken mentioned something related to improving our ADA as a percentage of our actual enrollment. So that's got to be a low-hanging fruit that we can kind of go after, is just seeing where we can improve that, and then that will improve our revenues just through that. And then obviously ADA improvements will. But
to run things, we run things for a very demanding clientele. So I appreciate your look on things, Lester. Let me tell you why I'm here. I'm not a classified staff. I'm a terrible teacher. I'm very patient. I'm not a principal. I'm not a financial guy. I don't tell the superintendent what to do. I am here to make sure that nothing gets in the way of the funding and the compliances that we have that threaten the students that attend my schools in my towns. That's why I'm here. No one should be confused about that. So people look at our reserve and they say, well, you got all kinds of money. And I tell people, look, if I save up a bunch of money and then start freaking out and buying whatever I want to buy and don't stay in line with my budget or my paycheck, and I start digging into the bank account, that's called deficit spending. And in the world in which we have to answer to LACO, which is the County Office of Education, they look at things. It's like Lester will bring up things about forecasted cost. Is this going to go through the people? I don't want to speak for you, but does this go through the people of us that do the forecast? We don't just do what we do and then nobody's watching us. I mean, LACO has tight controls over what we do. But when you start spending money on things out of your reserve, you can have the biggest reserve, but if you're augmenting your regular expenditures that aren't capital improvement projects or whatever, LACO comes in and it starts giving you additional oversight. With additional oversight comes additional control. And when you lose control to LACO, and LACO loses control to the state, we aren't able to look at the kids that go to our schools and determine who wants to be an iron worker, who wants to be an electrician, who's headed to college, who's going to go to the, I should throw this out there, the local career technical academy that's going to bring in people that are, tired of doing math over wherever they're at and want to have an apprenticeship program staring them in the face. But that's why I'm here. This team has brought in more than $5 million for the next 5 years, and that replaces the charter revenue that wasn't sustainable, and no one's going to come back unless you're not spending the money. And again, everybody upstairs, if the joke in government is, if you're going to get $1, they're going to charge you $3 to show them he sees it. You got to report all this stuff. So there's all kinds of compliances. But short of somebody not spending the money and stuff, our administrative team has put $5 million on the table, more than that, for the next 5 years. Now, my concern about that is you can get $5 million in grants and competitive grants, and I think the last one, the $3.6 million, it was a nationwide competitive grant process, and less than 100 districts across the United States got the money. But at the end of 5 years, that money gets cut off. And if you don't build efficiencies in that allow you to, it's kind of like the No Child Left Behind. They would give you some money, and then, why are you laughing? Then every year, if you didn't go up by the mandated amount, then all of a sudden you didn't get your funding, and people were used to it, and you hired people and teachers and resources, and then you lost it all. It was counterproductive is what it really was. So what I look for as a board member, I do not want that grant money in the long-term sustainability of it threatened, because you don't want to get to year 5 and go, hey, that arts program, hey, all this career technical stuff, it's over because we don't have any money. because it got sucked up somewhere else. Now I'm going to go into danger zone, and I'm used to being there, and I need some of it. But here's what threatens things: financial threats, legal actions, compliance issues when we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. It's like you've got the state board kind of hinting around that you got big school districts not being accurate in their reporting. That's called a lie where I come from, you know. And then we're comparing ourselves to a bunch of liars. You got a big school district saying, "Oh, we don't have an attendance problem. Give us all the money." We get more. How much money do we get more if we report 100% versus 80? I mean, it's just sad. I don't want people suing this district, moving in here and thinking we're a bunch of hicks. We're not a bunch of hicks. We're pretty street smart. Smart enough not to get kicked in the head by a horse in our own yard. So don't come in here playing with us looking for a handout. I shouldn't have said that, but I did do something about it. We don't want to put ourselves in compliance issues with people being sued. And I'm going to tell you something. I have the child that's probably the least cognitive in the whole district. She's taken care of in the best possible way. You heard me send that Koopman kid home to tell his grandma how great she is. But sped mistakes are very, very costly, and you cannot put those in the budget. If I see a reserve number, say, "What's that on hold for?" He can't tell me because we're expecting a bunch of lawsuits. What I have noticed at the state level is some of these really low incidents, mean they don't happen very often. You've got an issue, you've got a medical issue, you've got a severe emotional distress issue. Sometimes those placements end up being out of state with non-public schools, non-public agencies. Those placements can cost you over $200,000 a year per student. And you've got these excess costs going. So I think the state model needs to incorporate, if there's a district that's our size and you have 1 in 100,000 populous case, the state fund for education should not punish the individual district, which sets up people in the district, the administrators kind of look and go, if it wasn't for that one kid, you don't put our administrators in our budget in that place. So I'm glad to see the State Special Education Commission, which I think somebody around here tracks that pretty closely, is trying to work on that for stuff. So we're getting support and that kind of stuff, but I don't want to see lawsuits at all. And I talked about agenda item 6 in the Department of Education, Cal Department of Education this morning. The minute they talked about charter funding for non-seat-based charters, the Teachers Association stands up and reminds everybody, people robbed $80 million, and the door to that nightmare was open right in this room. Believe that or not. So I don't want to see any of that. And I was asked one question. Did we bring in any charter revenue this year? So let me explain that. Revenue means the cost of doing what we do to oversee is X, and the law says that you can charge that up to 1%, one or the other, whichever is less. Did we claim any charter revenue in here where we're taking something from the charter and the kids that go to the charter and dump it into our own coffers? No. Okay, on the other side of that coin, I don't want encroachment from the charters, something they're doing, where we're spending our money that we can't recoup from them at the expense of our kids to go to my schools in my towns. They're my kids. That's my number one thing. I love it that there's charters. I love it that there's choice. And I respect everything. But you cannot take our kids' money to run your school. Has there been any encroachment on our general fund in this last reporting period that you are aware of? No. I hope that includes the last 2 weeks. So, that said, remember, when you come in here and you take, I tell people at work, I said this before, if you work for me, you do what you're supposed to do, you know what your standards are. When you bring your problem to me to fix, you you have lost your right to fix it your way. I will fix it my way, and that way is usually very decisive and quick. So, anything that threatens the $5.5 million that this administrative team has come in here to throw extra on the table, we are not ADA sufficient yet. Now, I'm going to move into what Lester said. Just because I say Lester doesn't mean he agrees with me, he's big enough to throw me around if he doesn't like what I'm saying. A what? Better. I'm a treacherous old man. Anyway, I like it that we can have fun. But here's my problem. We're not ADA self-sufficient. The team is getting the grants. Costs are going up. We have local floor space fluctuations. Read between the lines. People leave this school. They go to this school. I feel sad for that school, but they're coming to this school. So there's floor space. There's only so much floor space in this town. Okay. And when they leave one school and that floor space is filled up from the outside, if I'm going to tell him to get additional ADA, I need somewhere to put those kids. And I need to know that the buildings are DSA approved. So if I'm looking at this reserve, if I move to that chair next year, which is my plan, God forbid anybody gets in my way, my attention is going to be on, I want classrooms open here so the kids that come here, if they come to Ms. Van Orn's level classes, I want them here. If they come here to learn a trade, I want them here. I want additional floor space. We cannot continue to have this game of pretending that, oh, we need more students, but we got nowhere to put them. And I don't like hiring teachers when somebody comes in here and the teachers are, I missed you, Mr. Sparks, tonight. I live on your criticism. But at the end of the day, you cannot expect a teacher to teach 39 kids because you can't make the switch at 19, if you follow me. So our budget needs to be protected. We need additional floor space. And I want the reserve to be looked at as a plan. So if I want a plan, I need somewhere to put the kids. So take what he said about the low-hanging fruit and show me what the plan is. We can't go to the community for a bond, but we do need to take some of the reserves, and one square foot of floor space is better than zero. When I started on this board, this was a nightmare. You had the superintendent, yeah, you're out there, I don't care, come on. You had the superintendent sit there, and the financial person, he'd have to get a nod from this dude to say anything. It's just pitiful. We've come so far. Congratulations to staff, congratulations to teachers. Our numbers are going up, and I'm here to protect the money. Amen.
So Ken talked a lot about the reserve and protecting the reserve. In layman's terms, when you say we're required to have 4%, but we have 68% and it's going up by 3% every year, in layman's terms, when we're required to have 4, why do we have 70%-ish?
That's a great question, so thank you. Just as a cushion, to just speak of layman terms, if there is unanticipated expenditures, be it a special education lawsuit, if the deferred maintenance funds cannot take care of some huge expense at a school site, then you start dipping into what we call our reserve. So, we have to pay our employees our classified certificators, so we want to reserve, we want to remain fiscally solvent. So the reserve as an question, because as the second interim, if it's approved this evening, then this goes to LACO, and then they'll take a look at our fiscal reports, and again, they'll provide us guidance. If they're looking at it as being too high, in my experiences, I haven't had a report back from LACO to say it's too high. It's usually the opposite, or that you might be in danger of fiscal insolvency. That becomes problematic, but I haven't seen it the other way.
I think we need
Do we need to loop back around?
I think just comment on the reserve. I mean, 4% is an absolute joke. I mean, it's the smallest amount possible. If we ever reach a point where we're sitting at 4%, we should all be very, very concerned. It is not even remotely enough. And as far as the 4% goes, it's not a one-size-fits-all. I think you mentioned it as well. The large school district might be in the single percentage range, but somewhere our size, 4% is not even remotely close enough. I'd feel better if we were at 100%, and then we could sit there and we'd have a whole year of cash in front of us, and we needed no revenue to operate.
Okay, to give you a very practical example, what Lester is involved in parking operations, and in most municipal government entities, you have ratepayer. You might have a ratepayers commission. The idea is that you don't charge more than the value of the service. So let's say it costs you X amount to deliver trash. So you look at all of that, you look at all the trucks, the employees, the leases, the disposal fees, the benefits, all that, and it comes together, and then you say, okay, this is how much we have operationally, and then you break that down to the individual client. That's how your gas bill, your electric bill, and all that's supposed to work. There are ratepayer things. The difference between ratepayer things and the district is LACO gives you a certain amount per student or classified funding or whatever. Now, the problem with charters was you were basically charging these people so you could authorize them when they couldn't get another authorizer. So it's kind of like that world becomes the equivalent of running up a reserve on an enterprise fund where it's just really clear your taxpayers are being overcharged. That's kind of the difference. I want to call to your attention, there's 2 warrant registers here. They represent about a month, and these warrant registers for just this month add up to about $1.2 million. So the district is cycling through $1.2 million. In the event something were to go really wrong, horrendously wrong, I don't even want to give examples, then I'll get blamed. I get blamed for other things. But to Lester's point, when you start looking at what those numbers really mean and you start comparing them to warrant registers, there's not a ton there. When you take a look at the projects I'm talking about doing, you're not really, what does a soccer field cost you now? 1.2, 1.8? I mean, so I'm beating on everybody to get floor space, and you're still looking at, you burn up the money that I need for floor space, and you've got no reserve, then you're back down to the never-ending cycle of laying people off, cutting programs. That's where the arts went to. That's where music went to. It's just maintaining the most basic, rudimentary things, and then you have no identity as a district to be unique and offer the great things we're doing. Brianna?
Oh.
Okay.
Do we have any accounts that we don't spend it all for the year and we're going to lose it? Or are we spending all of it? Because we have certain funds that we have to spend or we lose that funding, right?
That's correct.
At the end of the year, do we have any accounts that we are not spending it and we're going to lose it, or are we on track to spend what we've been getting?
We're on track. If there's categorical funding or one-time funds, we're constantly discussing with those who are accountable and responsible to make sure that we are targeting the scope of work with those funds within that fiscal year.
All right, thank you. No further discussion? All those in favor?
Pass comment.
Paul DeGraff, aye.
Brianna Tuxoni, aye with 2 absent. 12D, resolution number 2022-23.09, authorizing use of remote teleconferencing provisions. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Hang on.
Oh,
You got anything?
Good.
Okay, teleconferencing in my work environment, the COVID thing went out the window. We're not required anymore to do teleconferencing, and I think LACO hasn't given that direction yet. So I want to make something very clear. Some agencies broadcast their meetings. Some agencies don't broadcast their meetings, and they tape them. Some do neither. Some just make minutes available for a certain period of time. So there is no requirement for this agency to run Zoom meetings and have chat rooms and, you know, hang Ken commentary and that kind of thing. The rule doesn't exist. So let's not confuse what happens when this finally goes away. What this is meant for is, in the old days, if I wanted to have participate in a meeting while I was on vacation, I was required to post my hotel room so everybody could come to the meeting. That's what it was all about. This right here provided a way for board members to participate. We couldn't physically get together. So don't confuse this going away with this district's support of broadcasting the meetings live so our constituents can see the meetings. I want everybody to understand what that is. I have not had a discussion. This is not a discussion. Maybe this should be agendized to what our protocol will be after this COVID thing goes away. I personally would enjoy having everybody able to watch the meeting from the comfort of wherever they're at, and then continue also with the district's posting of the meeting on the media channel. That's it.
Thank you. Where are we?
Question.
Offer question.
Lester, yes.
Walls got 5.
Brianna Texoni, I with 2 absent. 13A, Board Policy 6173 and Administrative Regulation 6173, Exhibit 6173, Education for Homeless Children, first read. Dr. Salafian?
Thank you. Like you said, Ms. Texoni, first read for both BP 6173 and AR 6173. There is new language put forward by California School Board Association with updates to the existing language of the policies. For example, superintendent or designee shall ensure that placement decisions for homeless students are based on students' best interest as defined by law. When there are at least 15 homeless students in the district or a district's local control accountability plan, LCAP, should include goals and specific actions to improve their student achievement outcomes. There's a plethora of suggested language for both AR and BP, and this is the first read. And those 2 items, in terms of suggested language, has been attached to the board agenda for all.
Thank you. Discussion, Lester?
Nothing for me.
14A, calendar. We do have one change. This has regular board meeting March 23rd, 2023. And listed, it says regular board meeting April 13th, 2023. There will be no meeting on April 13th. So the calendar should read regular board meeting March 23rd and regular board meeting April 27th. There's only one board meeting in April due to spring break. Any discussion? 15A, future agenda items. On the list, we have overview of transportation and procedures, or transportation, procedures, and finances. Discussion. Moving on, 16.
Yes, just to kind of reflect on future agenda items really quick. I know that a trustee had mentioned a salary study. We were able to successfully negotiate with ADA our outcomes, and that will be presented to LACO as required. We'll bring that ask back to the board if we need to move forward with a formal salary study session. In addition, I know that there was a request to agendize transportation plan. The transportation plan overview, as well as the budget for transportation, will be presented on March 23rd at our next board meeting, as that transportation plan is required to be submitted to LACO by April 1st. Thank you.
So to be clear, what you're saying is these are mandated reports to LACO, And once those reports are submitted to LACO and approved by LACO, and if LACO returns with any recommendations or findings or district compliances that need to be put in order, that can be shared with the board and has to be shared with the board. And within that report out is room for people to discuss whatever their concern might be outside of LACO's approval. That's my understanding.
That's correct. Any suggestions, recommendations by LACO will be brought back to the board for discussion.
I don't imagine I'll be given too many because I'm not a bus driver. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, 16A, adjournment. It's recommended the board adjourn the meeting at 9:31 p.m.